Basically, we're working with some of the client, helping them with this particular framework. No, so it's a little tricky, as you mentioned about how you define your data controller, data processor. That is also very tricky, how you're defining it. If somebody who is in India, even accessing your remote server and processing, but based on your definition, you have to get abided with that, how you define. Also, some of the sectors, like if somebody in telecom sector, it's not yet clear. If the person goes to Europe and he basically comes back, how the definition? Roaming. Or same time, if the EU citizen comes to India, maybe you get only 600 in a year, but the penalty can be like astounding. You don't know how to deal with it. Same with government to government. Somebody talked about Indian Railways. So how government to government will work. So these things are still, I will say, not clear. But so far, if it is not clear, the penalty still stands as it is. So I will say this is one of the biggest impact regulation which has come out in last many decades. And it will start showing its impact in coming years, I will say, if it is not managed appropriately.
So what happens to the product and solutions company and how are they trying to hedge these GDPR rules and regulations so that they are not being made to give penalty to?
So I will say is one of the probably many people who are working with a global organization in this forum here, and they will be trying to tackle how they categorize their organization policy, how they categorize, restructure their overall IT infrastructure. And it's more to do also what are the critical activities, whether you can outsource to India or you can outsource to any other part of the world, how to restrict that, how to work around it. And you have to also keep in mind, like the cost arbitrage was not only because you're providing less security, it was also how efficiently you are doing the things. So from that perspective, I will say in the coming months, the more use cases are coming. So far I have seen for healthcare, where they had processing unit outside India, Indian company. They are actually investing a lot to control it, how they can mitigate the risk covering under GDPR. Or a outsourcing company, BPO company, who is having their offices across the globe in different continents and in Europe, how they are trying to manage, because they were having a hub in Europe where they were centralizing the data because of certain compliances. And even if you see in EU itself, they have certain platforms which are called Epic and all. I was involved in it earlier. They have kind of centralized throughout the Europe citizen data. And there are various, with IoT and all that coming in place, there are various vulnerability exist. So you have to also see how the third world will get impacted with it, because you may not directly get that data, but because of some reason that data is sitting here because somebody has hacked and who is based here. So how, whether it will be driven by like a jurisdiction where the theft has happened, it will be driven by like who is holding the data. So there are many complications which still has to, legal world has to define and manage that actually.